let me ask you a question. What will it be like to transform into a humongous, berserking, murder gorilla from space? Because that is something that the Saiyans are actually quite familiar with. Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I wish to discuss the Oozaru transformation, so sit down and enjoy. Now even though I try, in these videos I'm not always clear when I speak about the canon, about my interpretation of the canon, or my fanfiction inspired by the canon. So I would like to start off with, what do we know, what are the facts about the Oozaru's transformation? And go from there, how do I interpret these canon facts, and what do I add to these canon facts in my own little fanverse, if you will. So what do we know about the Oozaru's transformation? We know that all Saiyans possess the ability to transform into a kaiju monster-esque gorilla when they look at the full moon. The only requirements are so-called Bruits Waves if they look at the reflection of the moon, or sometimes a reflection of a planet, they transform. Requirement 2 will be that they have their tail intact, which is an odd requirement. What do these two components how do these connect? And this is a question I want to answer in my video today. How do these components connect? Why do they both need to be present for the Saiyan to complete this transformation? Now we do know that the Oozaru transformation is also a 10 times multiplier of your original power. Now I don't do much with power levels, so there's that. What however I do find interesting is when characters talk about going into the Oozaru transformation. What is it like to transform into this creature? Now Bardock and company seem to have a dialogue of sort in which they mention that they suffer from a complete and total blackout during this transformation. However, Bardock claims that he remembers what he has done during this transformation. So when you transform, you have a blackout, you sort of wake up from wherever it was that you sort of transformed back, and if from a sleep state basically you fall back asleep, or you are some sort of unconscious. And you wake up but you have no recollection, very similar to the werewolf myth. However, Bardock seems to master the Oozaru transformation to an extent that he remembers what he has done. And Vegeta is fully conscious during this transformation. That is another thing. Vegeta remains fully conscious, so I want to talk about how you can control the Oozaru transformation in this video as well. One more odd thing I want to mention in this video is the eyes. Not of the Oozaru, but of Super Saiyan 4, because Super Saiyan 4 is linked to the Oozaru somehow, and I want to explore why that is. Well, how is it linked? What is peculiar about the Super Saiyan 4 is Goku gains yellow eyes. The color in his eyes turns to a yellow gold, but Vegeta gains green eyes, so it is different per individual, it seems. So every Saiyan has his own eye color, like humans. However, all Saiyans have black pearly eyes when they're not in Super Saiyan 4. So this is very interesting, and I have an interpretation of this that I wish to share with you as well. Okay, now we go into interpretation. What does this information teach us? Now we know you are Saiyan with your tail, you watch the moon or a sort of glow from a planet, and you transform into the Oozaru, and you become 10 times as strong. Let's indulge in a piece of dialogue for a moment, right? Imagine yourself strolling through the woods. Now it has been cloudy the last few days, and you haven't been tracking the lunar cycle very well, but suddenly the clouds shy away, revealing a full moon at this evening. At first you react surprised, because you know what this means. You are aware of your transforming capabilities. However, the moon has a very peculiar glow to it, an enchanting shine. You can't look away, it has enthralled you. You stand still, frozen in place, petrified. The moonlight bites into your face, it hurts your eyes, it bites into your skin, it enrages you. You feel anger, an animal, clawing its way from the back of your mind, from your psyche, raging, roaring from the inside. A loud beat, your heartbeat, like a war drum starts gaining momentum. Faster, faster, another loud beat. You know it will take 3 beats before you are at the point of no return. Your heart rate increases faster, 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 and another loud echoing beat, with the cracking noise of your ribcage expanding. It's going to happen. You can no longer hold it back. You start to growl. scream, snarl. Your entire body starts to ache. You can feel your bones expanding and your claws growing. The animal inside of your mind takes hold and you lose all consciousness, only to wake up the morning after. What just happened? So the first thing that I sort of imagine the Oozaru transformation is doing is resetting your mind all the way back to basic instincts, as if you have a second personality living inside of you, which is just an animal, and it takes control of you. Now I want to go back to that when I talk about controlling the Oozaru transformation. First, let's start off simple. What triggers this transformation to begin with? The moonlight. What's so special about moonlight? Well, Vegeta mentions that when light is deflected from the moon, something is added to its composition. Bruits Waves. These Bruits Waves are somehow recorded or absorbed via the eyes, and this causes your heart rate to increase, your fangs to grow, your hair to grow, your body to grow, and you start this transformation. However, it is not just the moon, it is also the sunlight deflected from a planet, or Vegeta's fake moon. Now, what is Vegeta's fake moon? Let's give an interpretation to that ability. What if Vegeta's fake moon was like a flare? What if he created a ball of energy, of ki, and he allowed it to sort of burn up like a flame? He just flings this bowl of burning energy into the sky and it starts to burn. At some point it light mingles with the atmosphere and it gives out this peculiar glow, these so-called Bruits Waves. Well, I figured, what if Bruits Waves are in fact just a color? Now, you know how they say how the color red angers bulls. Well, that's actually a ton of bull, pun intended. But what I like to suggest here, is that it is similar to that myth, that there is a color that causes this transformation. Colors have a wavelength, so in a sense you can call them waves, I suppose, maybe. Now, the method through which we see color is cone cells in our eyes. It may come as a surprise to you, but we only see 3 colors. We only have 3 groups of cone cells. A group for red, a group for green, and a group for blue. We don't see any other colors than these colors. Only when these cells are fired together, so we see both blue and red, our brain sort of gives a color to that area. In fact, I have found a video on YouTube that suggests that the color purple doesn't even exist and it is just something our brain makes up. That is very fascinating. What is even more fascinating is that there are creatures out in the world that can see a plethora of colors that we cannot. The most extreme example would be the peacock mantis shrimp. The peacock mantis shrimp can see a total of 12 colors. This thing can see Blu-ray. All I have to suggest is that saiyans can see a very rare color. They can see the normal 3 colors, but there's one color that is very rare and only appears in a few locations, like the glittering of a full moon or a planet deflecting sunlight, where this color is actually seen, because what I forget to tell is you see color is light that is deflected to your eyes. So if you have a blue object, the blue object absorbs the light green and red, but it deflects blue because it already is blue. So it deflects the color it already is. That light is deflected, broken apart, and we see that light. And that's how we see the color. And that's why we don't see anything when it gets dark, because we need light to see the color. So if this is a color that is deflected from a large object in large enough quantities, it will enrage the Saiyan.
New mic, new me. So if we think of Bruits Waves as a color, then Saiyans can register this color with their eyes, making their eyes the trigger to this whole transformation. I think Saiyans must be very sensitive to this color, so that it triggers when necessary. But you don't want a hair trigger on a giant city-wiping murder monkey. Luckily, Dragon Ball Z's canon states that there is a threshold, a set amount of Bruits units, so-called Zenos, required to trigger the ape. And now that we're on the topic of eyes, Saiyan eyes are a little bit funny, aren't they? They keep changing colors. Now you know that all Saiyans have black pearly eyes, but in Super Saiyan 4 their eye colors are unique to that individual. In fact, all characters seem to gain more personality, perhaps more so than they ever did in their original Super Saiyan form. For Goku's hair is raven black, but Vegeta's hair is a dark brown. Goku's pelt is a scarlet red, whereby Vegeta gains a crimson red pelt. But their eyes. Goku has golden eyes, where Vegeta's are a emerald green. And both have these intense red eyelids. Now, this seems completely irrelevant, but in the recent Broly movie, these eyes made an appearance, and these are canon. In the movie, Broly gains golden eyes with a black outline, and Broly's powers are said to be related to the Oozaru's incredible primal rage, allowing Broly to leave behind all his inhibitions and fully commit to the fight with a berserking fury. Could we potentially explain these eyes with our pseudo-scientific Super Saiyan biology? After all, we don't have to explain all the colors. Most of them are to do the God Ki or aura or special technique that Goku is using. No, we only have to explain the quote natural colors that appear within the Saiyan's normal natural transformations that they have to be able to learn from birth without any special techniques or the acquiring of God Ki or etc. No, the Super Saiyan 4 transformation is supposed to be representing your inner potential, your primal essence made manifest. So what if Saiyan optics are so dark because there is a black membrane on their eyes that acts like a pair of natural sunglasses that protects from any overexposure and filters out any moon glare? When the intensity of the Bruits Waves succeeds the before mentioned threshold of Xenos, this membrane becomes transparent, much like how a chameleon changes his skin color. At this moment, Saiyan's true eye color becomes visible, but his eyes are all bloodshot and appear red instead. Similar to an albino, whose eyes appear red because albinos have no pigment in their bodies whatsoever. Therefore, you can literally see the red of the blood inside of his eye vessels. Yeah, I know, this whole video gains a "the more you know" meme as its thumbnail. But what about the red eyelids from Super Saiyan 4? Well, Super Saiyan 4 doesn't need the full moon to transform, and the skin around your eyes is way thinner than your other skin. You can see your tiny blood vessels in your skin surrounding your eyes. So what if Super Saiyan 4's membrane was always transparent, revealing its true eye color, but also allowing the Saiyan to be bombarded by Bruits Waves constantly agitating the skin around the eyes, leaving these deep dark rings around his eyes for this intense stare. You could even suggest that Broly's membrane becomes transparent because he's in this blinding rage and he's just in this sort of wide-eyed state and his body is sort of fooled into thinking that he's going through a transformation even though he is not. And so, with a better understanding of what Bruits Waves are and a gimmicky membrane for the eyes that adds a little bit of an alien feature to the Super Saiyan's biology, you could easily explain the different eyes during the transformations. But what has any of this to do with the tail? How does it feature in the rest of this entire transformation? Now I got a neat little idea. The idea is not really based on anything Dragon Ball related, so I need to explain where I got it from. I got it from two facts, or one theory and one fact I sort of learned. The theory is not that important for the video, it's something I learned about the Stegosaurus. or it just has this theory about how its spine somehow is super special awesome, and that would explain why his brain is so small. Again, not important for this video. The second theory, or not theory, but the second thing that inspired me for my own little theory right here is the blue blood of the oldest living fossil on Earth. The oldest living fossil is the horseshoe crab. The horseshoe crab is one living fossil basically is they found fossils of the creature, but the creature is still alive today, so it remained unevolved, supposedly, right? Now, I myself do not believe in Darwinian evolution. I'm a Christian, and that is just, my view of the world. You do you, not starting any sort of discussion. But this creature was before the dinosaurs were a thing, when the dinosaurs all went extinct, and then stayed until humans noticed that it has lived this long. It has this special blue blood which helps detect and deal with viruses and whatnot. Now, I got my idea from these 2 points, right? From the special spine from the Stegosaurus and the blue blood from the horseshoe crab inspired me for this next concept, this theory. I call it the blue marrow theory. So basically, this is how it goes. If Bruits Waves are a color that he's saying detects with his eyes, then his eyes, send the signals to his brain, right? But then how does the body know to transform? Obviously, the brain sends signals down his nervous system, right? And all his nerves come together in the spine. So if your spine gets severed, that's why you lose your legs, because the connection to your brain is lost. Now, what you need to understand about bone marrow, to just sidestep for a moment, is that bone marrow produces blood. It has stem cells. So a stem cell is a cell that can literally transform in any other cell. So if you need hair cells, bone cells, blood cells, stem cells can transform themselves into those cells. So in bone marrow, everything that your body is sort of made of is there, right? That's where it can be produced. So if the saiyans have this special type of bone marrow where the cells are produced that helps their body reconfigure itself into a gigantic monkey. So I figured, what if the saiyan's spinal structure has this special blue marrow inside of it, and then the brain tells, via the nerves, tells this marrow to start producing all sorts of special hormones, right? Like it increases adrenaline, stress, growth hormone. You probably need a lot of growth hormone to grow that big. But probably some sort of special anime hormone, like a monkey hormone. And the adrenaline would cause the heartbeat to go up real fast, and the heart will start pumping all of these throughout the body, right, real fast. And then as it spreads, that's when you begin to change. Now, attached to the base of the spine is the tail. Now, if it is true that the spine holds this specialized blue marrow where, let's call it, this transformation juice is produced, then it is reasonable to think that the tail too houses this blue marrow, and it is just an extension of the spine. Then if the tail is cut off, this whole assembly line where this transformation juice is basically produced is then disrupted, and therefore perhaps the body can no longer produce enough of this, transformation juice, these hormones and these whatever, in order to complete the transformation, in order to produce enough of this to transform, and therefore the saiyan is no longer able to do it. Similar as in if you have a bad spinal injury, you can no longer walk, you lose your tail, and now you can no longer transform. Also, the trauma of having your tail be severed like that would cause you to transform back. Basically, the shock will put you back into your normal form. So basically, you see the color, your eyes tell your brain sends signals down your spine and your tail, and there all of these hormones are produced. Then your heart starts beating faster because of all the adrenaline, and then it starts circulating all of these new hormones throughout your body that then, because of these hormones, are transformed into an Oozaru. Now, if you think that a specialized blue marrow is a little bit too far-fetched because it isn't based on anything, I would like to know how you factor the tail into this transformation, seeing how a tail is little more than fur, muscles, and bone, and the required nerve endings to make all of those wiggle and move. There's nothing in there that would suggest a transformation capability, so I think that my little theory is the closest as we can get. But please share your ideas with me down in the comments below. Now, in the beginning of this video, which is, by the way, a recording from 2018, I promised that I'd talk a little bit about controlling the Oozaru transformation. And I've decided to make good on that promise, rather than just putting it in a different video, but I'm just gonna keep it brief. Now, as you might imagine, I will first direct your attention to some seemingly random scientific factoid that I will use to tie this whole thing up and make it seem more plausible. So I'd like to talk about the mind. The mind is divided into consciousness and subconsciousness. You probably already know this, but do you know how large the gap is between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind? Your conscious mind is actually only 10%, and your subconsciousness is 90% of your whole, let's say, mental landscape. What is important to know is that the Oozaru transformation rests within the subconsciousness. Now, why the mind is so interesting is because saiyans are shapeshifters. And how does the mind of a shapeshifter work? Is he one mind and two bodies? Are there two bodies and two minds? Or are they two minds in just one body? Who takes control during this Oozaru transformation? And do saiyans actually have a split personality? And if so, how do they unify these and become one in order to control the great ape? I like to think that in order to gain control, you need to go through different stages of control. There are different levels of control that the Saiyan may exert. So to explain these, I have a metaphor. Imagine that your body is a car and that your consciousness is the driver of that car. Now you may be driving your car down the road and suddenly you see a full moon. Now all of a sudden your car is stopped by a furry tail that yanks a handbrake, and your car door opens up by a huge gorilla that yanks you out of the driver's seat and stuffs you in the trunk, GTA style. He's going to take your body for a ride. At some point the car stops, the trunk pops open, and you have no idea what happened or where you have been. This is basically what happens during the basic Oozaru transformation. A Saiyan loses his consciousness, he becomes, he goes into some sort of coma or some sort of sleep, and he just wakes up with no memory of what happened. Why? Well, imagine if your body suddenly changed into something several times its size in the span of only a couple of minutes. That should hurt. It should hurt a lot. I never suffered any growth pain while I was growing up, but my brother has been antagonized by it. That sort of level of rapid transformation, could be very traumatizing for an individual. And then being turned into this monstrous ape, that too could leave traumas. So to protect the mind from this experience, it simply is turned off. You are you are just turned to sleep, and this instinct takes over. This basic instinct part of your brain just takes over, and now that is controlling your body. Gaining more control basically means that your position in the car changes. Instead of the trunk, where you cannot see or interact or anything, you're being put on the back seat, where you can still sort of see and know what's going on, while your body is still controlled by this monkey. I like to think that is sort of where Bardock was at with his mastery of the form. He could see what was going on, but he couldn't perhaps influence it. But Vegeta, he is at least next to the monkey while driving, right? He can grab the steering wheel and make sure that he doesn't hit anything. He can take actions and control and talk. When you're the level of a Super Saiyan 4, however, you're still driving the car. You don't lose control over the car, but it's very likely that monkeys get in the car. All these monkeys, they're shaking the car, they may be pulling your hair, yanking the steering wheel, and they throw a bunch of bananas around. But you are the one driving the car. Now, what does this represent, right? Well, these monkeys represent your primal instincts, right? Even in the regular Super Saiyan forms, Saiyans, their personality sometimes changes just a tad bit. Gohan becomes far more cocky and sometimes even sadistic, where Goku in his Super Saiyan 3 form is way more cool and far more calculated, right? He's far more, to the point, rather than his sort of goofy, playful nature. And this is because Super Saiyan 2 taps into the primal instinct, the killer instinct of the Oozaru transformation. Okay, but how does one gain control over the Oozaru transformation? I think that the Oozaru has a sort of personality of his own, and to align your goals with it is to sort of become the Oozaru. You must allow yourself to turn into this monkey. You must accept the consequences. You must embrace the power. Only if you do that, to become one with this inner animal, to accept the instincts, the expansion of your mind, that is where you start to gain control over the Oozaru. You must become the Oozaru to gain control over the animal. And that's it. Become friends with your inner animal, tame your inner animal, accept your inner animal, become one with your inner animal, and that is how you'll become a huge Godzilla city blasting monkey. Everybody can do it. That's everything I had to say in this video. And if you liked it, leave a comment down below. I have dyslexia. It's very hard for me to reach out to the community. It's hard for me to just type a story and just post it on Reddit or something. So if you liked this video, even if you have nothing to say, just say, cool video, dude. Bam, leave a comment down below. If you want more videos like this, then Oozaru punch that subscribe button and tail flick that notification bell. That's how I know you care, that's how I see my channel sort of grow, and that will motivate me to produce videos a little bit faster than I'm currently doing. Yeah, you'll be seeing more of me. Until next time, have a very nice day.